Whoops. Well, okay. Here I am. I did everything except turn the mic on. All right, let's try it again this afternoon. My very special guest is Dr. Santosh. He is a bariatric surgeon at Self Regional Hospital. He originally went to school in India, came here to the United States, did his internship or was at 5 medical schools in India, then completed his general surgery residency at St. Mary's Hospital in Waterbury, Connecticut, along with a research fellowship at the University of Connecticut in Farmington. And then further honed his expertise with a fellowship in minimally invasive bariatric surgery at Jefferson Health in Abington. Dr. Santosh, welcome to the show today.
Thank you, Anne. Happy to be here. Thanks for the opportunity.
Absolutely. So how long have you been in Greenwood now?
So my wife and I have been in Greenwood coming close to almost a year now.
And you actually built this bariatric program. We didn't actually have a program like here at Self, correct?
That's correct, yes.
Yes.
And happy to have, I think that has been the most challenging, at the same time, exciting opportunity that, or thing that I've ever done so far.
That's very cool. But, one of my questions would be, before we actually start talking about bariatric surgery and everything, is, what the heck made you decide to go in that direction?
Yeah, I think it's basically the lives that we touch and the lives that you make a difference in, that really make you choose a path. I think and my or they say the calling, right? And my calling, I felt like, was in my first year of training, where I felt like when we were training and we saw these patients undergo bariatric surgery and the kind of impact we make, especially when I saw 2 patients who basically were mostly bedbound, not able to work, unable to even do some activities of daily living, having back issues, could easily turn the corner after a surgery like this in about 6 to 12 months. And I actually saw them at places other than the hospital, like I want to see them at. And one of them actually ended up working at our own hospital. I think that's what made me realize this is what I want to do. I want to be the part of the change rather than be the after effects of all these medical problems and handling the complications from medical issues. I want to be at the forefront of preventing these complications and medical issues from worsening.
That is very cool. You were telling me how this the person that was a security guard tapped you on the shoulder and you didn't even recognize them.
Yeah, and that's in a pleasant way, right?
Right.
And so again, completely took me by surprise as to how he could change his life. And it came around for him. He was someone who wasn't able to work, was on disability,
and had a lot of anxiety after he had the surgery, because you told me that.
Exactly,
yes, yeah,
and had a lot of anxiety. Wasn't sure if he did the right thing. I was lucky to be there for him and spend some time on his day after surgery and explain to him how he's made a very important choice and only things are going to look up from here on. And here we go, in 6 to 12 months after, I see him work as a security guard in my own hospital and actually be functional on 2 feet. And, now obviously making more money than he has ever, and he's leading a great life.
One of the things that I think a lot of people probably are interested about is, well, why should I do a bariatric surgery when I could just take those GPLs, Ozempic, and all those other drugs that they're touting on the TV and everything? What do you have to say about that?
I think both of whether it's medication or surgery have their place. I think surgery is a more long-lasting, durable, or sustainable way of essentially losing weight and keeping it off, as well as managing the problems associated with the weight. The way we term this surgery nowadays is actually called as metabolic surgery over the word bariatric surgery, and that's what the term is shaping up as. Actually, we've kind of changed the nomenclature now to metabolic. The reason why is we are not doing this surgery for them to just physically lose the weight. It's about changing the internal environment in these patients. And that's what scientists looked at, because this has been around for decades, and saw how can we do something similar to what the surgery does, and that's how the medications were evaluated for this. So the medications do a part of the job that the surgery does, not entirely. So it really depends on what the expectations of a patient are from this, whether they are seeking short-term weight loss, or are they seeking long-term sustainable weight loss, which can alter their medical problems. So each have their place. So if there is someone seeking long-term weight loss without having to, give themselves a shot every week, which would be the case in case of medications, I think surgery would be a better choice. If there is someone who's still on the fence about, whether do I need the weight loss, what kind of, am I still in it, am I still completely for this concept, I think medication is a good gateway or a start, because sometimes patients do need that time to kind of sort out whether they want to go through this process for the rest of their life.
You were telling me that there are long-term side effects we don't really know about with the medications. And whereas if you have the surgery, I'm not going to, you could almost say it's a one and done, but it's not. But that's kind of what you're talking about, isn't it?
Yes. So the medications, we do not have entirely the long-term data that we would have for surgery. Like I said, surgery has been around for decades and decades now, and we've refined it to a point where the rate of complications from these surgery is that less than even that of a gallbladder removal. So why I compare it to a gallbladder removal is because the gallbladder removal is one of the most common operations done in the entire United States, far superior than any other procedure done. And even that is probably having more complication risk than bariatric surgery. So we stand at a great place in time in terms of advertising for this bariatric operations, because they are very safe. They are done with minimally invasive techniques, that meaning that it's done with small incisions. So in terms of medications, there are sometimes we have noticed that patients are not able to tolerate them as much as surgery. They are having sometimes a condition called gastroparesis, which means your stomach slows down, and sometimes those effects are not entirely reversed by stopping the medication either. So I've had to manage some patients who've been on these medications for long term, and that gastroparesis hasn't improved. So it's again, everything comes fraught with risks and complications, and understanding what the benefits are. So one of that is just to know this, especially with medications.
In the South, we do seem to have a lot of overweight. And is there a way for people to be able to do it without bariatric surgery, or is that just the answer in today's world?
Absolutely not. And as much as I love my profession of being a bariatric surgeon, and I myself would say that bariatric surgery is not perfect, or it's not the need of the it's not the need of the hour. It's not the best thing man has invented after bread. So I wouldn't be sitting here and fooling everyone saying that.
Right.
So obviously prevention is better than cure. We've all studied that in school, and multiple times people tell us the same. So yes, I don't think that's necessarily the answer. I think obviously preventing that from even happening is the best possible way. But sometimes, now this is how I look at it. We have diseases like hypertension, diabetes, sleep apnea, arthritis. We never sit there and always always blame the person for that, because you're like, that I just got hypertension, I got diabetes. But somehow for obesity, there is this stigma that they did it to themselves, or this is why this is happening. And I think we need to really let our guard down and kind of embrace the fact that obesity is a disease, and people with obesity, or we have very sensitive terms nowadays. In fact, in even medical literature, you can just call people obese people, or even the worst word which I heard is like fat people. That's not the kind of language we even are allowed to use, because nowadays the word is persons with obesity or people with obesity, just like people with diabetes, people with hypertension, because obesity is a disease. And expecting people to do all this by themselves is like, I often give this analogy that obesity is a war upon us, and you're sending these people to war bare hands, like basically not even giving them a weapon or anything. Now, can you go to war like that? Absolutely, you can go to war. How long will you last in such a war is the question. So, whereas we give them tools, and that's all surgery is. It's a tool. We cannot take away that diet and exercise remain important tenets. It's just that you're giving them a tool to be able to achieve that. And so that's like the weapon that you give them against the war. So I think prevention, same thing like any other disease, prevention is better than cure for obesity. Basically watching the diet, calorie control, portion controlling, and it's honestly about food choices more than even the kind. It's about choosing the right kind of food for a meal, and that stems from being able to eat about 60 to 90 grams of protein a day, drinking adequate amount of water, which is at least half a gallon a day, at least, if possible even more, and essentially showing activity in the form of 3 times weekly doing about 30 minutes of activity, such as what we call as cardio, which you will get your heart rate up about 60 to 80% of your maximum heart rate. So if you potentially do all this and you still are going to suffer from obesity, sometimes you need that additional help in terms of surgery.
One of the things as you were talking, I was just thinking about is children. Is bariatric surgery something that you do with children? Because we do have so many obese children.
Yeah, actually, it's a very, very rampantly growing concept. It's called adolescent bariatric surgery. Unfortunately, not offered here itself yet because there are other pieces to that puzzle. You would need a child psychologist, and it's a little more involved. Mm-hmm. But there are excellent papers out there, excellent medical papers or literature, as we call it, out there, showing how well patients who have had adolescent bariatric surgery do. And there are absolutely great, like I said, impact on that. Patients do tremendously well and actually on a long-term basis. So yes, there is a place for adolescent bariatric surgery.
That's interesting. So now, when I was reading up for this interview here today, I saw there's all different types of stomach surgery, shall we call it, okay? Why do you have so many different types? There's like 3 or 4 types, I think.
That's another one. I mean, one of the reasons which I like what I do for a living is because unlike other fields of surgery or medicine, where usually the doctor walks in and you basically tell the patient like, hey, this is your option, and then not much other than that. Like, you have a lump, you're going to remove it. You have a cancer, you remove it.
Right.
This is one of the most interesting or intriguing fields because you and the patient spend close to an hour discussing what is their expectation and come up with a plan for what kind of surgery they need. Because, not one surgery is going to tackle all the problems. So why we have different kinds of surgery depends on what their starting body weight might be and how aggressive they want to be about weight loss, and also their other associated conditions like diabetes, if how severe their diabetes is, how bad their acid reflux is, and how much of a weight loss are they desiring and how much they can handle in terms of nutrition after. So that's the beauty, is because you just don't give them one option. You can actually discuss options with them and pick the right one for them.
Yeah, we're not just going to remove your appendix.
Yeah, it's just not like, okay, that's it. That's all you have. There's no other option.
Right. Well, that's very interesting. Now, one of the other things that I find very interesting is how does one actually prepare? I mean, if you have a severely overweight person who needs this, do they have to do anything to actually prepare for the surgery?
I think, to be honest with you, the main preparation happens before even seeing me. That is in terms of mental preparation. It is about understanding, because I tell this all the time, anybody can do surgery, and I believe in this, that anybody, if you show them 2-3 times, they're going to be able to do this. This is more than surgery. This is not about the surgery at all. It's about a lifelong commitment to being healthy and to continue to take these positive aspects forward in your life. Because what we essentially expect is what the effects of surgery are. typically last at a great level for the first 18 months. I think 18 months is a significant duration of time for human behavior change, as well as a lot of what I say is attitude change towards food. So the patients, the mental preparation, am I ready for this? Am I socially ready for this? Am I physically ready for this? Am I emotionally ready for this?
And is your family going to support you?
Exactly.
I suppose
And that's
would be
the
one.
social aspect. Is my family ready for me getting this operation? Because, and I often tell my post-op patients that, how is your family taking this? Are they okay with you eating like what they may think a small portion but actually is adequate for you? Are they? I hope nobody is judging you on any of this. I would always tell them, think of this. This is your journey. This is your life, and you have taken matters into your hand, and you've done good by doing this surgery. But here on, if someone's gonna it may be, some people may judge you for the reasons, whatever may be the case, but you have to be strong mentally and understand you're doing this for yourself, and you're doing everything right. People may question why you're doing this, but you have to stand up for yourself and tell that I am choosing me or myself over anybody at this point, and I want to be healthy for my children, for myself, basically for my family. So mental preparation, number one. Secondly, you don't need a primary care referral or anything. If you decide you want to talk about weight loss to a specialist, it could even start. I mean, technically, you could start off by talking to your primary care doctor. But if you feel like you want to just, start off talking to even us, we are happy. You don't necessarily always have to, like walking into my office. Don't have to think that, oh, we have to decide completely about doing surgery. It could be a discussion, and most patients, to be honest, they'll take a lot back with them, and often come back to say that, okay, I want to proceed with this and that. So I think the mental preparation, and then deciding, okay, if this is the right time for this, and then basically making an appointment with a specialist. If they're in Greenwood, we would be extremely happy to see
That's
them.
right. And if you'd like to jot this number down to give them a call, 864-725-4911 is the number over there for the bariatric surgery. We are talking today with Dr. Santosh. He is a bariatric, maybe we should call you a metabolic surgeon.
That's what I prefer, but I know
bariatric, everybody understands, I guess. Yes. Yeah.
I think the word bariatric again is a little bit of old school type of word. It's a Greek word basically, which is essentially talks about what bariatric means is basically the medicine of weight. It's almost like, because baros is pressure, or that's what in Greek. I think we do more than just weight loss. I think the point of this is metabolic effect. Like I was telling you, we've had a great success in some of the patients who have actually resolved their metabolic complications, like diabetes. Some of them are not on blood pressure medications anymore after, and they really appreciate the fact that they are not worrying about their blood pressure or their sugars after this surgery. And I think to be honest, diabetes is such a killer because it's a silent killer, and that's the worst ones, because it clogs your arteries, it clogs your arteries to your heart, small arteries to your feet, your hands, and to your eyes. So you don't even realize what's taking over sometimes. So they are really appreciative of that. But yeah, metabolic is a lovely term. But it's, I understand.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Well, that is too cool. Now, we are here with Dr. Santosh, and he is a bariatric surgeon over there itself. It is a relatively new department over there. You actually, you made it from the ground up, I guess, huh?
Yeah, and I think I would say not many people sometimes take upon this endeavor, especially so early on in their career. But I saw this as a window of opportunity. And though the program, you could say has been around only for less than a year now, we've been sowing the seeds of success actually since last January. So more than a year and a half. Even before I joined here, we used to have long conference calls about how to set up for success, and the management, the administration itself has been tremendously helpful in how responsive they have been, including, and this may be sounding small, but you cannot, technically, you should not be having a office that is not obesity inclusive when you are doing bariatric surgery. What that means is you have to make the patients feel accommodated and feel welcome. So that could include having adequate furniture for these patients, because the last thing I want is my patient to feel that they do not belong there. And so every place in the hospital has obesity inclusive, like for example, chairs. We have constructed a separate wing in the clinic where we have basically exam tables and examination rooms that are completely compliant and compatible with patients of patients with obesity. We have our own designated unit in the
Where is it? Where is
hospital.
your office actually at in Self?
So it is in 160 Academy and Avenue, and it's where the Advanced Surgical Associates
Okay.
also are. But we have a separate wing in that very office. It was just easier to be with all the surgical specialities in that office. And in the hospital side, we have designated an area of the hospital designated for bariatric patients post surgery. So now again, they feel warm and welcome in that. I think constructing that was the first and foremost thing for me, was having that environment and sensitizing the whole all the medical professionals as well as the staff at the hospital, because I think the last thing we want to do is create any bias or any stigma even within the hospital.
Or any alienation? Yes,
Absolutely, because this is most crucial for me, that we had everything set up to be inclusive, and that's how it should be. But sometimes not all offices have that ability. But we at our bariatric services, if anyone is willing to come check us out, I think you will see how we welcome everyone with open arms, and we have all the adequate requirements or infrastructure to handle patients suffering from obesity.
Absolutely. Well, if you are out there listening and you have a question, you can text me at 864-229-7984. That's 864-229-7984. You can also comment on our Facebook Live on WCRS 98.5 FM /1450 AM. But we would love to hear from you while Dr. Santosh is here. He really is wanting to make a difference. I think I get that feeling. You'd like to make a difference.
I mean, I think that's what we are here for. As medical professionals, is you want to make a difference. I don't think there's anything else driving us every day. I don't think anything else driving us, whether it's my wife or I, both of us being medical professionals. It's just about how we can get a place better, especially since for me, it's also a little more than just, it's also because how much I have received, like I said, from US, from the training that I've received. I think I owe a huge sense of, I owe a huge sense of gratefulness in terms of like what we have been able to train and achieve here. So this is little bit of contribution, but overall there's a bigger purpose, basically just how can we make a difference in the society.
Absolutely. What does your wife do?
So she's an interventional cardiologist at Self, and taking care of patients with cardiovascular diseases and doing advanced procedures, basically to open up some clogged arteries when that need arises, but also obviously focusing on prevention as well. And
Wow.
Very proud of her for sure.
So we got two medical professionals here out of one family. That's pretty cool. Well, we are here this afternoon. We are going to take a quick break. If you are on Facebook, you're going to hear some music. If you're on the radio, you're going to hear some commercials. So don't go away. And if you've got a question, and we're going to be talking more about this, and I hope you'll stay tuned and listen. We are again with Dr. Santosh. If you'd like to contact their office, 864-725-4911. That is through Self Regional Healthcare. They would love to talk to you, and no pressure. No pressure. Just see if it's a step you'd like to make. We'll be right back. Don't you go away. That's right. We're right back here at WCRS Radio. Yes, I'm Ann Eller. It is Meet Me at the Diner, back on schedule here. And we have Dr. Santosh. He is a bariatric surgeon at Self Regional. We've been talking about obesity as a disease, just like diabetes and heart disease and high blood pressure. One of the things that I didn't realize that having this surgery can actually do away with those conditions, correct?
Yeah, actually, there is enough evidence out there to say that bariatric surgery is one of, actually, if not the only modality to potentially reduce or cure the effects from these long-standing chronic conditions, because most of them have been brought upon by actually the obesity. And like I was mentioning earlier, we've had some success stories where patients who are on 2, 3, 4 diabetes medications and still unable to control their blood sugars or the favorite A1C, which everybody is targeting. Oh, my A1C is that, my A1C is this. All that can be put to bed. In fact, I have personally taken off the diagnosis of diabetes on at least 2 or 3 patients, literally taken off their chart, saying you are not diabetic anymore because in 6 months you have not had to take a single diabetes medication and your sugars are perfect. So yeah, that's I think, to me, that is my
that would be the gold standard, right?
Yeah.
The goal to be able to do that. Now, question, is this surgery elective? Is it surgery that's covered by insurance? And you and I were talking about, just as an added topic, about how some of these drugs that they're using, we don't really know how long-term the insurance companies are going to cover them.
Absolutely. So yes, insurance. Now, insurance companies predominantly do cover this. Actually, since I would say 10 years ago to now, a tremendous amount of improvement in insurance coverage, because a lot of insurances have recognized this as a chronic medical condition and are willing to cover it, including plans under Medicare as well as Medicaid. So that's very, very, very rewarding. Because,
that's huge, yeah.
Yeah, because to say, I mean, when we looked at our numbers, about 50% of the surgeries we've done are already through patients who have had Medicare, Medicaid. So it's not
50%.
Yep.
Wow.
And so that's perfect, because that's the population, and that's the population you can make a huge change in, and you'll see that, and people are benefiting from this. So yes, absolutely. It's a completely elective operation. It's one of those operations. I tell patients, now again, if you wake up on a day, and or even a day before surgery, and say, you know what, I'm not ready for this, it's a surgery that I will say, if you don't feel like you're not ready for it, please, let's not do it tomorrow. This is completely elective in that way, because like I told you, doing the surgery, and you probably would be able to do it if we just showed you maybe 2 or 3 times.
Well, no, that's because you got the robot there really doing the work, right? The robotic surgery?
Yes,
no.
It is not. Well, we'll talk about robotic surgery in a second, but it's about the fact that it's more than that hour and a half, 2 hours that we spend in the operating room that the impact is created. So yes, absolutely elective. And in terms of medications, I'm sure a lot of our listeners have gone through the hoops of insurance approvals for these medications, because it's not easy. Insurances do not want to pay for something that is every week that you have to inject, and they know that medication, when you stop, for example, when you stop the medication, there can be rebound weight gain. So they know that the patients, once started on this, need to be on it pretty much lifelong.
So Ozempic and all of these, you got to stay on them, otherwise the weight's going to come back.
Yes. But again, going back to medications, since I do not hate medications, I do appreciate and completely embrace them, because like I said, we are 2 peas in a pod, medications and surgery. The reason why I say that is, you are expecting, again, that when the patient is on medications, they are making better life and food choices. So usually, if you put someone on medication, you're hoping that they lose the weight in the next 12 months and might meanwhile have made the required adjustments to their lifestyle. So nobody should actually even start taking medication thinking oh, I'm just going to take medications lifelong. It's almost interesting because we did a small study before I finished fellowship or residency that we saw patients who are actually on medications before surgery versus diet and exercise before surgery lost less weight than the people who are on diet and exercise. It was almost like counterintuitive. We were like, what is going on? Because I think a lot of patients who are on medication just assume that the medication is going to do it all for them.
Right, right.
And that's not true. It's not like a fairy sitting there and going to, do everything for you. Even with medication, you still have to follow the tenets of diet and exercise. Whereas the people who were only on the diet and exercise knew they had no other way out other than diet and exercise. So almost some people use that medication thinking everything is going to be done. It's not. It's still trying to change your mindset or trying to make you look at food in a different way.
So how does bariatric surgery then do it different then? How does it make it different?
I think the reason how it makes it different, and again, I would say you still come back to the same tenets. The reason it makes it different is because it's almost a permanent change in your system. So what happens is now your stomach is smaller, and not only is it smaller, so not only you're restricted in the amount of food you can eat, but also you stay less hungry for a while. Now, by nature or by virtue of this, you get into a habit that you can only eat so much, or what we call as a healthy portion size, and that becomes a habit because that's all your body can do almost. Because if you try to overdo something, your body will immediately knock you down, saying, I don't think we like that, Whereas with the medication, you stop the medication, you're back to, it lasts for a week, the effect, and then you're back to square one. So that's maybe the difference, is because it's a more permanent change and a more long-standing change than the medication alone.
Now, how obese does somebody need to be actually be able to be considered for bariatric surgery?
Great question. I have a tremendous, I cannot even tell you how strong an opinion I have on this, but unfortunately there is a very, very archaic system as to how this is decided. It was basically decided by a set of people sitting across a table in 1991 saying this is the BMI cutoff which which patients are going to get bariatric surgery for. Makes no sense because BMI means nothing to me, but that's a whole different concept, and that's a whole different argument or debate because that's not the right measure. But currently the way it works is if your BMI is 35 and above with a medical problem, that is hypertension or basically high blood pressure, diabetes, sleep apnea or arthritis, then you could be a candidate for bariatric surgery. Or if your BMI is 40 and above, you don't even need any of these medical problems. Just by virtue of being your BMI above 40, you could be a candidate for bariatric surgery. Now, there are a few things, for example, that we look for is, basically no active substance use or alcohol use. Like if, we would first work on that aspect. And also no recent hospitalizations for psychiatric illnesses. Because, again, as I said, the surgery is not the issue. The bigger picture is mental stability and also understanding what they are actually signing up for.
Now, here's another question from somebody that's always very conscious of things. How do you lose the weight? Meaning, do you lose it like from the top down? How does the weight come off?
I think that's another great question. It's a global weight loss, to be
global.
Honest. Yeah, what I mean by that. But that being said, we've actually and when the patients actually see our nutritionist, we have a scale that actually gives exactly what their body fat percentage is, and it's amazing because we can measure what their body fat percentage was before surgery, and then you can kind of trend it and see, and you will see that predominantly that weight lost is from their body fat. So what does body fat constitute? It could be something what we call as intra-abdominal or visceral fat, intra-abdominal or visceral fat, and that's predominantly, especially in men. Men are really
Oh yeah, that porch that hangs over there, right? Yes.
So men actually are a very high risk candidates if they have obesity, because a very high risk for heart problems.
Right.
Men often think they are immune from all these things, and as a man, I guess I can say these things and not be in trouble, because we are really bad at at managing our own health. Sometimes we think
Right.
we are totally fine, and that's reflected.
Invincible.
Yeah,
Yes.
and
Yep.
that's reflected because 80% of the patients we see are actually female. Although obesity does not discriminate between male and female.
Right.
I mean, to all the men out there, I think it's as significant a problem as it is for a lady. So there is nothing, it's not about cosmesis anymore. As I said, this is about taking charge of your medical problems. So, yeah, intra-abdominal obesity is a place commonly where the
So
fat comes
if
from.
you were obese and you were a man and you basically carried your weight on the front, you'd start seeing that come off there.
Yeah, you would see that for sure. You would see that come off there, and in a woman, women are lucky that way because there are many sites of deposition of what we call, lipid or fat, and so it comes off more globally than that. Some people, and this, very thread I want to finish in that way, that some people are really worried about the loose skin aspect of
Right.
losing.
That was my next question. Yes.
Yeah.
I've seen people that have had the loose skin. I mean, I don't mean to be, but that's horrible. I mean,
Absolutely. I mean, it's how it is life offsetting,
Right.
in that way. But one of the ways to prevent that from happening is, and skin is being the largest organ, is very adaptable. It's very adaptable in the sense when you exercise along with the weight loss, it actually tightens up or tones up, and it may not be as significant. Now, that being said, some of these patients lose significant amount of weight, which actually is a victory because they lose the weight and they get rid of all their medical problems. Sometimes that excess skin may need to be handled overall. Like, now there are options. Obviously, plastic surgery can cover it. Sometimes, including insurance can cover it if you show that you're developing rashes and stuff from it. It is not out of the realm. Yes, that is a definite possibility, losing that, or having some excess skin. But if you talk to some of these patients, they are just so happy that they are not on 20,000 medications. They are just happy that they're
Sure.
living a much... to me, when they tell me that finally they're able to actually chase their, play with their child because they're actually able to run around with them and they're able to go to work and all these other things. Yeah, I think, I don't know, it's on a scale, if I have to weigh that versus loose skin, I think they are probably happy to, do things that they were never able to do before. But yes, loose skin is a problem, and sometimes may need to be addressed after 18 months from surgery. That's when we address it. We do not address it before.
So how much weight could a person lose on this program? And being obese, they have to be obese. I
Yeah.
mean, it's not for somebody that's just a little bit overweight, right?
Yeah, no, just the criteria that we spoke about. So 35 and above with medical problems, or 40 without any medical problems are the current qualification criteria through most insurances. How much weight is all through, we give it only in terms of percentage because everybody's different in terms of what their starting weights are. So there are procedures. The surgical weight loss, I would say, overall ranges from what we call as about 50% excess weight loss till about 70 to 80% excess weight loss. And how to simplify excess weight loss is basically how much weight are you additionally above what you should be.
Okay.
And how do we define what you should be was something 30 years ago. Insurance companies basically came up with this thing called ideal body weight, that is weight for height. So if you are a particular height, what should your weight be? And that calculation was done 30 years ago. And basically these are the patients or people who lived longer and healthy without any medical problems. So they took that weight for that particular height. And so we calculate the difference with their current weight from that weight, and that's the excess weight. And so 50% of excess weight loss to about 80% at 1 year, depending on the type of procedure.
I'll bet psychologically, though, there's a lot of help that needs to be gotten along the way while on this journey. Number one, you can't eat as much as you probably were eating. When it comes to festivities, Christmas and holidays and birthdays and everything, you've got to be more careful. And I just bet just going through this, and sometimes at some point I'm sure people are saying, oh my God, is this ever going to end? Am I always going to have to be this way, right?
And that's why I want to point out to one thing. And I've heard this from some patients thinking that, a lot of people think weight loss surgery is the easy way out. And I'm like, it's actually the exact opposite of easy way out, because this decision is a huge decision for people to take and not to be taken lightly. Now, coming to a point about psychology, yes, they actually, as a part of preoperative evaluation, everybody gets seen by a psychologist or a counselor, and that deeper depths of everything are explored of what their, I call it, relationship with food is.
Yeah.
Because we all have a relationship with food. Okay?
Yes, I love it.
Exactly. So we all have, there are some people who love it. There are some people who basically use food because it's like a, that's what I need to survive.
Right.
I was telling even a patient today, there are some people who eat the same food every day because they do not want to make a decision about food. If you go and talk to some of the big entrepreneurs in this country and worldwide,
right,
they tell you they eat the same thing every day. They eat the same thing every day because they do not want to waste their mind or thought process on what am I going to eat tomorrow? What am I going to eat today? Like, they do not want to do that. And
actually, I eat them quite often, the same dinner, because I know it's healthy, I know it's good, and I know my weight will maintain if I just stay on target here.
Exactly. So that's what we need to explore, is what is your relationship with the food. And yes, absolutely, everyone they are offered all the help after surgery, because one of the things we did not touch upon is, unlike, and I do general surgery as well, and general surgery is interesting because you see the patient after surgery and you're like, okay, looking good, 2 weeks after surgery, all the incisions have healed, you're good to go, sir.
See you later.
See you later, or maybe not see
right,
you later,
right.
which we were talking about. So, whereas in bariatric surgery, it's a lifelong relationship. I see them 1 week, 1 month, 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, 12 months, 18 months after surgery, and then yearly after. And even people who have had bariatric surgery, we like to see them, and because
even if they didn't have the surgery with you.
Exactly, yeah. Because even if they have not had it with us, we are welcoming patients who've had bariatric surgery in the past and want to check in. They may not have any problems. They may have zero problems, which is great, which is what we expect. But they still need to be seen by a bariatric provider at least yearly. And that's the recommendation, because there are some nuances that need to be checked, including blood work, making sure they're on the right supplements. So I strongly encourage anyone who's had bariatric surgery, doing great. Most times you're like, I'm doing great, I don't need to see anybody. But I think it's important, because sometimes there are certain nuances that we need to correct. But everybody's offered psychological help, or if they need anything. In fact, when I gave you this follow-up schedule, sometimes I see patients sooner if they feel like they want to see me earlier than that. So we are very flexible. They also get a lifelong, our bariatric dietitian, they get a lifelong contact with her. So like if they need anything, they can always, talk to our bariatric dietitian. And also same thing with our psychologist. We have Self is helping us tremendously with setting up that, and we have set up a great line of communication where we can always have them see our psychologists, including we're going to be doing support group meetings where we have patients who have already had the surgery, and now new patients can also join and hear what the experience of others
that's a good idea. Yeah, that's a great idea.
Absolutely. We are starting them later this month, and that is almost like an open forum. Just ask away, whether you are an existing patient or a new patient or had surgery in the past. It's just going to be an open forum. We're probably going to do it virtually just to improve the attendance, because it's so much easier now. We are all blessed with the fact that you could sit on a couch and just open your phone and be ready to ask away.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Well, we are almost out of time. Not quite, but what are there any other topic? And what about supplements? You mentioned supplements. Do you have to take something special? And how does the God, I can remember back in the old days going on a diet where you got, what was it, where the fat was eating away and you might have bad breath. What was that called? The chemical of your body eating the fat, not eating, destroying, using the fat for your.
Yeah, like when like that's like more when they do ketosis and.
Yes, that's what I
yeah.
was looking for. Yes.
Yeah. Well, one thing I'll assure you is we do not believe in any of those food fads, which we call it, basically keto diet, and all that. It's very simple. I don't even believe in calorie restriction mostly. It's about, and I call this the way it is. It is protein is king. So if you compose your diet predominantly of protein, 60 to 90 grams is what I said, but 100 better, 110 even better. When you eat 60 to 90 to 100 grams of protein, and especially after surgery, you're not going to be able to really indulge in a lot of other, non-nutritious food. Okay.
Yeah,
and,
protein fills you up.
Exactly. And
right.
that's the theme of this surgery. Especially all the surgeries love protein. They love it so much that patient is happy, the stomach is happy, everyone is happy. So protein is king. Now, in terms of supplements, depends on the type of surgery, but predominantly everybody after surgery has to be on vitamin and mineral supplementation, extent of which depends on what kind of surgery they've had, which is another reason why patients who've had surgery in the past should strongly consider seeing us or seeing any bariatric provider for that matter, because there are some nuances to that. Every surgery, you have to make sure they're on the right vitamin and supplements, and our patients are given a beautiful handbook with all this information when they see us, and it's readily available. It's actually available on our website as well. So even if you don't want to see us but are wanting to download that, it's available very nicely on our website. We have something called a nutrition handbook, and that will have some of these details as well.
Right.
But again, strongly encourage, just because there are some nuances and you want to make sure. And I do want to say there are, for example, there is a certain stigma associated with this surgery called a gastric bypass. People often worry that after a gastric bypass, some of them didn't do well, or some of their family members or something, their mental status has changed, or they're not the same people anymore. They're becoming more agitated. That could not be that they are having psychiatric issues. Actually, they could be vitamin deficient. Vitamin B1, which is thiamine, is significantly associated with psychological disturbances. And that's one of those which can be affected, when you don't take your vitamins after the surgery. So,
okay.
So it's very important. That's why I say that we shouldn't necessarily just label someone as what they are, except unless they have actually undergone some evaluation. So, and I've had this where all of a sudden you supplement their thiamine, and they are the best people you could have met, because they were just going through troublesome time because their vitamin levels were low. So
there's a lot to look at this, and that's why you're saying that people need to follow up and come back, and whether you had the surgery done with self or with you, this is a service that is available.
Absolutely, yes. Usually we say patients from other practice, the first 1 year after surgery, you are strongly encouraged to see your own surgeon for at least the first year, because we take pride in obviously doing that. Unless, obviously you move from a far away place, then we've even seen patients from other practices within a year. But the unsaid rule among all our surgeons is just like within that first year, you want to see your own patients. But other than that, yes, absolutely. We want and we welcome all patients who've had surgery before. You might be doing great, just like I said, but you could probably even do better.
Well, that's what I was going to say. You might do better, right?
Yeah, you could probably do better. And sometimes we find, you may think what is normal may not necessarily be normal, and there could be a way out of it. Especially, unfortunately, some patients may be dealing with reflux issues and things like that. Not everything needs to be, you don't have to bear through everything. There are things that we can do to help you.
That sounds great. Well, listen, we have been talking with Dr. Santosh. He is the bariatric surgeon over there at Self. And I want to give you that telephone number if you'd like to pick up the phone and call them and just find out more. Go see them. 864-725-4911. That's 864-725-4911. And get educated about this and change your life, right?
Absolutely. I mean, like I said, we are there and we are willing to help and happy to, again, even if you're not considering surgery, happy to discuss some aspects of it if that's what they also want to.
Absolutely. And don't forget, next week at the Y on August 13th, which is a Wednesday from 11 to 12, Dr. Santosh is going to be the Get Moving with Self over there at the YMCA right here in Greenwood. They're going to walk, they're going to talk, and you'll be there to answer all their questions, right?
Absolutely, can't wait for that. Yeah, I've been looking forward to that event with YMCA. They've been tremendous because they've been working closely with some of our patients. And shout out to the Silver Sneakers program that the YMCA has, helping patients achieve some of these, essentially helping them achieve these habits pre-surgery, even to help them lose the weight before surgery, because that portends well with losing weight after surgery as well.
Absolutely. Well, I really appreciate this sit down here today. I think we've had an excellent conversation. Thank you so much for coming out today, Dr. Santosh.
And thank you for having us here, and I really appreciate this opportunity. And I think it was great. I think you asked some tremendous questions, and I hope I was able to answer them.
You did a great job, and everybody needs to like and share out there, right? This is WCRS Radio right here in Greenwood. It will be here on Facebook, so you can go back and watch it later, maybe refer somebody that didn't get to see it, but we'd love to have your input on this. I know Dr. Santosh would love to hear how he did here today. So please check that out. Please give him a call over there if you've got any questions. 864-725-4911. 864-725-4911. Now, I'll be back in the morning right here on WCRS with my news take on the world. So make sure you tune in. That's going to do it for us. This is WCRS. Have a great evening. Bye-bye, everybody. Let's cue the music, and we are out of here. Bye-bye, everybody.